For this video, we're in the shop with Josh 1, highlighting all the do's and don'ts of maintaining an RTR. Then, we take it to the field for a little suspension testing. Stay tuned.
What's up, guys? We're here at my shop today. You've seen us riding and beating on this bike for a couple months now, so it's time to do some basic maintenance, and we're going to walk you guys through some of the basic maintenance tips and how to do it. So first thing we're going to look at today is the drive system on the bike. So we're going to check our chain, we're going to check our sprockets, those types of things. Take a look at my bike. My chain, a little on the loose side. So step one, we're just going to loosen the back axle. So take your 19 on the nut side, take your 17 on the other side. Always hold the bolt side and loosen the nut side. It's going to make your life a lot easier. Make sure it's completely loose and you can easily move your wheel forward and backwards. Now we're going to use the 12mm adjuster so you can adjust the chain tension. A lot of people ask about the chain tension on the RTRs and why they don't have to have a lot. You guys that come from like the motocross world, you know on a normal motocross bike you need to have, I don't know, anywhere from 20 to 30 millimeters of slack in the chain. On the RTR, we don't want much. And the reason for that is the motor's actually mounted to the swing arm. So as the swing arm travels, the chain tension doesn't change. So as you can see, chain tension isn't changing. It's staying exactly the same. And that's because we're not in front of the pivot point on the swing arm. We're actually attached to the swing arm with the counter shaft of the motor. Okay, so next we're going to adjust the chain tension nuts. And it's important that we move these equally left and right side because you want your rear wheel tracking straight. Okay, so I just loosened up the lock nut and backed the bolt out a little bit. And the important thing we want to do is make sure that we're even on both sides of the bike. So if you look inside the swing arm here, there's these lines that are pressed into the metal. So we're going to look in there, see where our block is, and we're going to check the other side to make sure they're both on the same mark. Then we know that our wheel is straight and the bike's going to track straight and true. Okay, so now we have our axle position set. We happen to be on the 4th line on this bike. It could vary on yours depending on how long your chain is. So now we're going to tighten the lock nut and lock this into place. So I'm going to take my two 12mm. One I'm going to hold the adjuster bolt, and the other one I'm going to use to tighten the lock nut down against the swing arm. Okay, so before we tighten the rear axle, we want to make sure that our wheel is pushed forward against the adjusters. We're going to take a round object, could be a screwdriver like this. We're going to carefully put it in one of the teeth of our sprocket, and then we're going to roll the wheel back gently. Doesn't need to be super hard or anything. This is just going to force the wheel forward, so when we tighten the axle, we're pushed up against those adjusters and we know that the wheel is straight. Okay, we have our axle tightened it to 55 foot-pounds. That's the specified torque. And we're going to check our chain tension now, make sure that we're in range. So we got a couple millimeters here. That looks good. We want to aim for anywhere from 1 to 10. We're going to try to go on the lower end, so like anywhere from 1 to 5 is probably okay, because the chain, as you know, is going to stretch as you ride, so we want to start on that low end of the spectrum, and that should be good. Also, super important for chain maintenance, guys, make sure you're lubing your chains. We see this all the time. People don't lube their chains. They get dry, they get rusty, they make a bunch of noise. It's going to keep your bike running a lot smoother, a lot quieter, and it's important that you lube your chain correctly, because I see this a lot too. So we're going to go, and when we lube the chain, we're going to lube the inside of the chain. You don't want to lube the outside, because as your chain is spinning around at a high speed, it's just going to shoot chain lube everywhere, all over your bike, all over your leg, and it's not going to go on the chain where it's supposed to go. So Todd reminded me that we should probably address this like awesome white background that we have here. So keep in mind, this is my shop that we don't film in very much, so I was super prepared for the shoot today. I was able to get this awesome white background that covers everything and gives us a super professional look. So yeah, let us know how much you like that in the comments. Okay, so now we're going to move on to brakes. Been riding this bike for a while. The pads and rotors are starting to get a little bit worn out, so I'm going to swap on some new pads and throw on a new set of our wave rotors on here. Go try those out too. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to loosen the back axle, pop the rear wheel off, then we can easily get to the rotor and brake pads. All right, you can see my axle, it's got grease on it. It's a little bit dirty now, so we're going to wipe that off, put some fresh grease on there before we reinstall it. All right, so we have our new wave rotor. So what I'm going to do is just take a little bit of brake clean on a rag, clean this off a little bit, just give it a quick wipe. Sometimes there's some oils from manufacturing on there that we don't want to get on our brake pads. So just to make sure we have a fresh, clean surface. So on these wave rotors, the orientation does matter. We want the load going into these supports here, not pulling away from them. So you want to make sure that your logo is facing out. And before we put these in, we're going to use some blue medium strength thread locker on these bolts. You don't want the bolts holding your rotors coming out. That's not fun. No one likes that. So we're going to make sure these are locked in, tightened correctly. So it doesn't take much, just a little bit like that's all you need. You don't need to coat the whole bolt or anything like that. That's plenty. Okay, so we're ready to tighten these up. Super important, we're going to tighten these in what they call a star pattern. So we're not going to just go 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to go 1, 3, 2, 4, like that. Evens the load and distributes it out a little bit better. All right, now that we swapped our rotor, we're going to move on to the pads. We always recommend swapping brake pads whenever you put a new rotor on. They seat together a lot better, so that's highly, highly recommended to do. The first thing we're going to do is pull this pin out on the back. So next we're going to pop this top pin out. Now our pads should be able to come out. Quick push. Make sure you hold on to this. Don't lose this clip. Also really important, guys, make sure you don't squeeze your brake when the rotor and the pads are out of the caliper. If that happens, the piston's going to come out and you're not going to be able to put your rotor back in. If that happens, really easy to fix. We're just going to take our old pads. We're going to temporarily put them back in. Slide in there just like that. And we're going to take a large flat blade screwdriver, just carefully go between the pads, and we're going to rotate just a little bit. And now our piston should be forced back in all the way, and we'll be able to install our new pads and put the rotor in. Okay, so pads are in, top pin is in, and we've put the small Carter pin back in. Now we're going to make sure that we bend the tabs on the Carter pin over just a bit so that the main pin can't come out. Actually went really well. Look at that.
That's like a world's first for ENC. Yeah. Something went well for once.
Wow. On camera too. That's like.
I got the go-kart, dude. The go-kart did pretty good.
That's true. That's true.
I think it's just having me around, honestly, bro. Like,
you think it's bad on the vlogs? You should see when Todd's not here. Things are exploding. Everything's on fire. It's terrible.
Wrenches are getting thrown across the shop.
Okay, so now we're ready to put our wheel back on and reinstall the axle. You see I've cleaned this off nicely, gotten any dirt, debris off of it. Now we're gonna put a fresh coat of grease on it. Doesn't take a lot, guys. We're just gonna do a really, really thin film layer, and that's all you need. Okay, so to make sure that our caliper is centered on the rotor, I'm gonna show you how to do that real quick. So we're just gonna, these two Allens right here, we're gonna loosen these up. Don't need to be super loose, just enough there. Then what I'm gonna do is actually grab the brake, then I'm gonna tighten these back down while I'm holding the brake. So you can see I'm still holding the lever as I'm tightening these down. Get those snug and let go. Final torque. Final adjustment, and this is super, super important. You guys should be checking this all the time anyways, is the free play in the lever. You can see I have a little bit too much there, maybe about 10 millimeters. You always have to have a little bit, at least 1 or 2 millimeters. If not, your brakes are gonna rev constantly. You're gonna overheat your brakes or smoke the pads. So what we're gonna do to adjust this, make it a little bit tighter, is I'm gonna take my small Allen key in here. I'm gonna go in with the adjuster screw. That looks about good. So you can see there's a little bit of play in the lever, not too much. All right, so we're done with the back. Now we're just gonna repeat the process on the front. Same idea, front wheel, same as the back wheel, same brake system. Just do it all over again. Okay, so got the rotor swapped out. We have the front wheel put on loosely. I'm just gonna go over the steps real quick of how to put your front wheel on properly. This does matter. It affects suspension performance and all that. We want everything aligned. So first thing we're gonna do is tighten the axle. I'm gonna hold the other side. This is important. My pinch bolts on both sides are loose right now, so they can freely float. We don't want those tight yet. Okay, now that the axle is tight, pinch bolts are still loose, what I'm gonna do is spin the wheel really hard and then grab my front brake. What that's gonna do is shock and stop this really quickly, and that's gonna align this right fork leg that can float on the axle, make sure that it's perfectly straight and we have proper fork alignment. So I'm gonna spin this, grab it, do that a couple of times. Our fork leg should now be straight, so I'm gonna go ahead and tighten the pinch bolts on the right side. There we go. That's all good. Move over to the other side. Okay guys, so we're going to show you real quick how to check and tension your spokes. This is super important wheel maintenance. You should be doing this every ride, every other ride, especially when your bike is brand new or if you put a new wheel on. We're not really worried about torque on these. What we're worried about is tension in the spoke, because that's what's holding your wheel together and like pulling the rim in. It's like a guitar string. When it's under tension, higher pitch. This one being loose, much lower pitch. So what we're going to do is carefully tighten this up. Now you can hear that it's a lot higher pitch. This spoke is properly tensioned. All right, so another maintenance item is your electrical connections. So this is important for if you're washing your bike, things like that. We want to make sure water is not getting in there. We want to make sure there's a good electrical contact. So an easy way to do that is just to grab a little tube of dielectric grease. You can get this from your local auto parts store. It's everywhere. All I'm going to do is take a little bit. This happens to be the connector to the battery. You should do this on every connector. We're just going to show it on this one because it's convenient to get to. Just going to put a little bit of dielectric grease on each terminal. So now when this goes in, it'll have a lot better seal. It makes it a little easier to pop in. Just like that. And this is something you can do on every electrical connection on the bike. It's a good idea to take those off every now and then, check them for corrosion and anything like that. Add a little grease to them, pop them back in. You'll have a solid connection. It'll keep water out. It's just a good thing to do. All right, now our front wheel is put on properly, forks are aligned, we're ready to rip. Bike's together, we've done our basic maintenance. The last thing we're gonna show you guys how to do is to properly seat your brake pads. So when you put new rotors and pads on, it's important to properly seat them so you get the right braking performance immediately. So we're gonna show you how to do that right now. All right, so we're out in the front yard. What we're gonna do is seat the brake pads. So all I'm gonna do is go down at like a medium speed, and then I'm gonna get on the brakes as hard as I can. Don't wanna lock the wheel up and crash, but I wanna make sure that I'm like beating on the brake pads as hard as I can, so we're bedding them into the rotor and getting the best braking performance that we can. There we go, so we bedded in our brake pads, now we're ready to rip.
You want to tune my suspension?
Yeah, let's do it. Oh my God. You look majestic sitting there amongst the flowers though.
Yeah, buy my new fucking t-shirt, dude. My suspension needs a little bit of tuning, so Josh is gonna give her a little test ride and let us know what she needs.
So coming through the bumps, it seems like the back end's like kicking a little bit as I'm hitting them. And that could be two things. It could be too fast of rebound. It could also be too slow if the rebound's not coming out quick enough in between bumps and it's packing. In this case, you can see Todd's is like pretty fast. So I'm gonna guess the rebound's probably too fast. So we're gonna slow it down a little bit and then do another run, see how it feels. We're gonna come in here, slow that down. Go back out. Still a little too much. That seems a little better. Let's try that. Super important, guys, that I should mention. Whenever you're changing suspension, doing tuning like this, change one thing at a time. Everybody I know is guilty of doing multiple things at a time. The result is never good. If you're changing one thing at a time, you know what's different. You know if you went the right direction or the wrong direction, if the bike is feeling worse or better, and you can immediately go back and make that one change. If you did three things at once, you slowed your rebound and you like made your compression stiffer, you don't know which of those things had the effect on the bike, so you're just kind of shooting in the dark. So remember, one thing at a time. No matter what, you're gonna get some bouncing through braking bumps this big, but it's more of a subtle, more controlled feel. It's not so springy, you have a little more damping to it. So it might be difficult to see on the video, but when you're riding it, you'll feel that it's a lot more controlled going through the bumps. And I actually think I was able to go through faster that time, and it was still smoother. So that kind of tells you right there.
Absolutely.
So we'll let Todd hop back on, see what he thinks.
Hell yeah.
All right, what do we got, Todd?
It feels good, dude. I'm like a fucking out-of-the-box suspension type of guy. I usually don't even mess with my shit. And I did mess with this. And, well, first I let Austin mess with it, and then I decided I didn't like it that much, so I tried to mess with it, and then I totally threw it off. So I'm glad that Josh just did that for me, because now I feel like coming into these braking bumps, like my ass end isn't hitting so hard, it's not like jolting my ass end up so much, and it feels like 20 times better. So thank you, Josh. That was perfect.
There you go, guys. Don't sleep on suspension adjustment.
Don't sleep on suspension adjustment. All right, everybody, that's it for today's vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I think we had some real good informative content in there. Josh is a wizard at this stuff, so it's definitely good to have him around and help out, especially with me whenever I need some suspension tuning and stuff. But everything else he walked you guys through, all that maintenance and stuff, is totally necessary. If you're putting hours on these bikes, which we are, and a lot of people who buy these bikes are. So I'm glad you guys got to see that. We'll see you guys next week for the next vlog. Peace.